Travel has come roaring back, and the COVID, it's still here with us. I've got insider travel secrets of the 7 best travel tips to help keep us healthy and safe whilst traveling in the COVID time. Hi, I'm Larry Gelwigs, the Getaway Guru, and welcome to my travel channel. The purpose of the Getaway Guru is to help you see the world, travel more, and pay less. If you're new to my travel channel, the Getaway Guru, please remember the big 3. Subscribe, turn on the notifications, and if you like this video, which I hope you do, please give me a thumbs up. Well, travel has come back. Here at Columbus Travel, we have seen a record surge in future travel bookings. Now, we all want to get on the road again, don't we? We want to start traveling close to home and to faraway places, but we do want to do it in a healthy, smart, and safe way. So, I've got 7 travel tips. I think they're the best travel tips you'll ever get for travel during the COVID times to help keep us healthy and safe. Number 1, check the health and safety protocols and practices of the destination that you're planning to go to. Is COVID spreading or diminishing at your destination? And what is your preferred travel provider, your hotel, cruise line, airline, transportation company, tour company? What is your preferred travel provider doing to keep guests healthy and safe? Now, the best place to gather this information are the respective websites of those travel providers. Now, if you're thinking about an international, overseas destinations, there's 2 websites I want you to be sure and check out. The first is a website maintained by the U.S. State Department, travel.state.gov. The other is the website for the World Travel and Tourism Council, sometimes called the WTTC. Now, the State Department website will give you regular updates on health, safety, including COVID, and a whole range of other important information. The WTTC website will give you a list of destinations that have been awarded the Safe Travel Certificate. This is a designation or an assurance, a certificate from the WTTC to destinations that have met the high, strict standards of health and safety protocols. It's kind of like an extra stamp of approval that'll just give you a little bit more comfort about the place that you're going. Now, links to both of these websites are included in the descriptions below. Travel tip number 2. What are the cancellation and change policies of your travel provider? The airlines, cruise lines, hotels, resorts, tour companies, car rental companies. What are the specific requirements to get a refund, to change, or cancel? Don't make the assumption that everybody has the same policy. Let me give you an example. Last year, I had one of our Getaway Guru subscribers, a couple, contact me and ask me for some advice and help with a problem they were having. They had booked their own trip to England. Now, they booked it pre-pandemic. They had their airfare, they had their London hotel. Well, as you know, all travel across the North Atlantic between the U.S. and Europe and the U.S. and the U.K. stopped. It was prohibited. You cannot fly to Europe as a visiting tourist. So they contacted the airline, got a full refund. The air flight was canceled. What about the hotel? They notified the hotel of their cancellation because they couldn't travel. And guess what? The hotel would not give them a refund. The hotel was saying, hey, we're sorry about the air flight. We're not the airline. We're a hotel, and we're still open. They refused to give them a refund, even though these people could not possibly make it to London. Well, they wrote me and for some advice on how to handle this, and I kind of worked with them. Well, to make a long story short, we got it worked out and they got a full refund. That's something that highlights the importance of air-inclusive packages. An air-inclusive package is one where in one reservation you can get your airfare, your hotel, maybe a cruise, maybe a car rental. There are different travel elements all bundled together. And what's nice about air-inclusive packages, in most cases, if one element cannot be fulfilled or is canceled, you can cancel the whole reservation and get a future travel credit or a refund. An air-inclusive package is something you always want to talk to your travel provider about. So, what's the lesson here? Don't make any assumptions. Know the specifics of your cancellation and change policy. Travel tip number 3. The CDC now requires that all persons returning to the United States by air must have a negative COVID test within 72 hours of the return flight. Now, the questions that you want to ask yourself is, what is the availability of COVID tests at the destination? I mean, wherever I'm going to be around the world outside of the United States, what is the availability? Will the hotel or resort be administering that COVID test on site? Is there a cost associated with it? You know, I think Mexico has done a really good job. Most of the hotels now are offering a free COVID test on site, and you get it, of course, within 72 hours of checkout and your return flight home. But I know of some hotels that are charging over $300 a test. Now, that's just immoral price gouging. They're taking advantage of people. And I think a lot of these folks had no idea that they were going to have to pay $300 or more for their test. It's one of these questions you want to ask and know before you go. Travel tip number 4. Does the destination that you're traveling to, both domestic and international, do they require a negative COVID test for you to fly to that destination? And does it require the test to be taken at a specific testing facility? Now, maybe some of you read, as I did a few months ago, a family of 4 flew to Maui. They were turned away at the Kahului airport upon their arrival and put on the first flight back to the mainland. But wait a minute, they had their negative COVID test. But Hawaii not only requires the test, but they have a list of approved testing facilities and clinics across the country. You can only get the test from one of these facilities. They got it from another facility, not on the list. It was still a valid test, but Hawaii would not accept it. So again, the lesson here is don't make any assumptions. What type of test will be required if you want to fly? Is it a PCR? Is it an antigen? You want to make sure you have the right type of test 72 hours prior to your travel. Now, here's another question. Is that 72 hours prior to your departure flight, or is that 72 hours from your arrival time at your destination? All of these are questions you want to know before you go. How about travel tip number 5? I highly recommend travel protection, also known and called by some as travel insurance. Now, there's a few questions you want to ask yourself about your travel protection. First of all, you want to know exactly what is included. Are there any deductibles? And you want to know what specifically is excluded. One of the most important elements of travel protection is the emergency medical evacuation. I know of a gentleman who was in the far reaches of Polynesia at an outward island, had a severe stroke, an aneurysm, and had to have a private jet fly him back to the United States because they couldn't treat him there. And guess what? It was all covered under his travel protection. The way that I look at travel protection is this. I don't like paying my car insurance, but I wouldn't dream of driving without it because of the downside, some catastrophic accident. And that's how I look at travel protection. I don't like having an additional cost or paying for it, but I wouldn't dream of traveling without it because the potential of travel and medical costs, delays and cancellations, lost luggage, all of that included. Yeah, you want to take travel protection. Travel tip number 6. Once you're on your way, pack extra PPE. That's personal protection equipment and supplies, especially for unexpected delays. What you want to do is make sure you have an extra supply of facial masks, hand sanitizers, disinfectant wipes, gloves, snacks, and if you're traveling with kids, be sure you take extra diapers and a change of dry clothing. And by all means, both for yourself and for the kids, make sure you have plenty of entertainment available. Travel tip number 7. Finally, be a responsible traveler. Practice social distancing, face masks, hand sanitizers. Use a credit card for touchless transactions whenever you can, and be sure to follow all the local protocols and health and safety practices. Now, one other thing about being responsible is keep in mind that during these COVID times, restaurants seem to be closing early. Normally, they may be open to 9, 10, 11, or 12. We're seeing a lot of restaurants closing at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So plan that in your schedule for the day. Find out where do we think we'll be eating and make sure you have reservations or at least enough time to get in there. Okay, let's do a quick review of the 7 travel tips to stay healthy and safe during COVID times. Number 1. What are the health and safety protocols in practice at your destination? What are the change and cancellation policies of your travel provider? If you're returning to the United States from outside the country, what is the availability and cost, if any, of obtaining a negative COVID test that you'll need to board your return flight? Does your destination that you're traveling to require a negative COVID test? And do they stipulate the specific testing facilities whose test results that they will accept? What about travel protection? Highly recommended. Know your exclusions and inclusions, and be sure and pay attention to that emergency medical evacuation. Pack enough PPE supplies. Just take some extra stuff with you. And finally, be a responsible traveler. There you have it. The 7 best travel tips I think you'll ever hear about staying healthy and safe during COVID times. And just a reminder, if you're new to my travel channel, please remember the big 3. Subscribe, turn on the notifications, and please give me a thumbs up. And for the best travel deals on the planet, give us a call at Columbus Travel, 800-373-3328, or online at columbusvacations.com. And in the descriptions below, you'll find a link to the Columbus Travel website, columbusvacations.com. Well, stay healthy, stay safe, happy traveling.